Hello. In this video, I wanted to address another version of this energetic paradigm shift, and the one of the aspects that is coming along with it or developing with it is the ideas of walking in your own truth, and so not how you would interpret that, right? How you would facilitate that is throughout your life, you make choices, right? Endless and endless number of choices where you follow your own truth, or you follow your own internal calling, or you're following your own uh, yearning for your own self, or or you simply blindly walk your path following the herds, or listening to somebody else's story and making it your own, or simply wandering lost in the woods. And so the 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 intentional part of your life, the intentional part of living, comes from knowing in your true sense of self, right? So from your internal being, the center of your being, what is the frequency of your truth? And how you would interpret that, or how you would facilitate that out of your being, would be within the moment of stillness where you feel whole and complete. Take a snapshot of the energy that is the essence of you, right? The the unwavering conscious knowing, this is who I am, right? And it's that portion of you has never been lost. It has never been not there. That portion of you has existed, for eons and eons, and it continues to always be there. The truth is, do you listen to that internal knowing? Do you listen to that internal call, or do you walk in untruth for whatever reason, whatever the circumstances, whatever the influences that you consider to use as the excuse of why your actions, and your way of being, the way of living, is not lined up with your own internal truth. And so that could come in multitude of forms, right? It could simply come from the idea that your actions are going against your own internal compass of well-being, right? Meaning, you could be living and propagating lifestyles and actions that are actually taking you further away from your truth, which lead you to the deterioration of yourself, for both from physical standpoint, emotional, and mental. And so you can live your life always going against your internal knowing, your internal calling, and then sooner or later that lifestyle or that untruth, um, starts to ring its bell harder and harder and harder. And if you continue not to hear it and you continue not to listen to it, your being would simply not continue to exist. And so that is one interpretation of walking in your truth, is actually deteriorating your physical being, based on the lifestyle choices that you choose to propagate. Another version, so the second version of it would be the idea that the actions which you propagate into this world, right? The sentiments, thoughts, words, um, actual physical actions of interpretations that you put out there as the message of this is who I am, are again not resonating with the internal truth of you, right? So you walk knowing something inside of you that is your being, and then verbally you say something else, or you walk knowing uh, your true being from the inside, and then through your action you behave in a different way. And so again, similar to the propagation of untruth from the first example, the second example, in that same way, um, goes against your true notions of self, right? That so this is another way you would be going against your own grain, or going against your own path of conscious actualization, is knowing your truth within and then propagating actions of otherwise. And then the third way, or another way to interpret or to live in the untruth, is to simply deny its existence. And so you might not actually be going against any one of your um, internal knowings, right? You're not in the way presenting a polar opposite into the world, but you simply know the truth, and you're not propagating any truth forward, right? You're just kind of in that point of um, of denial. And so uh, which from the three-dimensional standpoint could seem like a lesser than interpretation, that like, oh well, I'm not speaking untruth, I'm not acting untruth, I'm not living a lifestyle that is untrue to me, or I'm not, participating in actions that are untrue to my true notion of self, but I'm simply not acting on my truth. And so that would be another way of living in untruth, is just not acting on your truth. And so from the energetic standpoint, it actually presents itself as the exact same interpretation, is that you're actively knowing your true being, you're feeling your true being, right? You're acknowledging what your truth is, but you're hiding from the concepts of it, right? Yes, you might not be putting out actions that communicate false sense of self or facilitate false sense of identity, but not living your truth and actually not putting the actions of your truth out is as harmful as living the actions of untruth. It presents itself same energetically, where your being is being denied internally your own known truth, and then you're not pushing yourself out towards the world, um, h- how you in the way you're meant to live this life. And so the question to ask yourself, or the interpretation out of this concept, would be, how are you living your life that is in an untrue representation or untrue frequency to your inner self, your inner knowing, the true notions of you, right? And just by drawing drawing that question within yourself, you will automatically have things pop up within you. Like uh, just apples, like apples bobbing up uh, in the barrel, to where you will start to see your own truth, right? The idea of you asking that question to your own self would be the step one in recognition of, well, how do I live my truth, right? By asking, how am I currently not living my truth? What is it that I'm doing with my life that facilitates untruth, right? That is bringing on my own disease, that is bringing my own discomfort, that is shutting myself off from true form of living, and in fact facilitating something else. And so this draws back to my previous messages on the idea that you have to acknowledge that actions of yourself that you exude forward, that do not lie in your true way of being, in your true way of knowing, and going against the grain or simply not going, um, are kind of like um, these conforming form of stillnesses that kind of lock themselves up within you, and present themselves as this unmoving frequency that is, basically is trying to break free, but is being hindered by, you name it, right? Whether it's lifestyle, or life choices, thought propagations, or life actions, or inactions, right? The energy it's basically trying to, it is a um, it is trying to allow you to unhinge yourself, and kind of like start rotating, start your energetic rotation of self, that is in fact your truth. And then as that energy is trying to push harder and harder and harder, um, you will feel yourself be able to recognize those things that you created within your life that are not in harmony or in complete disharmony or disease with your own self, right? And so right now, the energetic push that you're experiencing is that the energy is really, really trying to break free, right? Your own self is trying to break free and receive acknowledgement, receive recognition, receive re- receivership of your own being into your own self. Um, but and so the harder you fight against it, the harder it will push against you. And so, in essence, I is basically like force brings like force, right? And so, as it's trying to naturally allow you to create this spin, this energetic spin that is your truth. Um, if you don't allow it to happen, right, you will have to see over the next coming months, you'll have to bring more and more resistance in order to continue to suppress yourself from emerging out. And so that is the fight you possibly are facing on the inside right now. That this might offer explanation to is the harder you nudge against your own truth and suppression of your own being, the harder it will try to dislodge itself. Um, in order for you to experience your own being. And so it sounds very mechanical, and I'm being presented with it as a very mechanical form of operation. But in fact, what is coming to you has to be interpreted from the energetic standpoint, right? The the balance of energy would have to exist if you're trying to fight um, the essence of truth, right? And so in this kind of like dance of, hey, here's who I am, and then you go, nope, nope, here, that's not who you are. Or hey, how about you speak your truth, and you're like, no, nope, not, we'll speak your truth. And so this dynamic force is basically forcing itself into unlocking of your being, right? And so the suggestion, the message, the idea that is being presented here is stop fighting your own being, stop fighting your own self. Allow yourself to face your own truth and stop being the barrier that is causing that truth not to come forward. It is now past the time of self suppression. It is now past the time of living in unrecognition of your truth, and actions and lifestyles around that can no longer exist. So the harder you will try to fight it, the harder you will try to push against it, the harder it will push against you. And so that is the truth that some might not want to hear, and that is the truth that explains the existence of the world as it stands today. Is the fight that we're seeing all around us is in fact this global force that is just basically trying to get us to see our own truth within, right? And so when we feel that turmoil and we feel that push, many people out there experience resistance. And so I'm thinking, if you're watching this video, there's resistance within you that is causing you not to surrender, not to surrender into anything that is foreign, not to surrender into somebody else's actions or somebody else's need. In fact, that is what you're doing when you're doing something other than your truth. This is just surrender into your own energetic self, right? There's simply no time left to do anything other than that. And so the energetic self is asking to be acknowledged, is asking to come on board, and it's time to do that. You have spent way too much time living something else, being something else, acknowledging yourself into somebody else's truth, trying to belong to somebody else's concept, where you can find some artificial fight to fight in order to suppress your own being. But seeking satisfaction, seeking outside fighting, seeking outside beliefs in order to create circumstances and scenarios of untruth will no longer be available to you as the paradigm of living. And so this is kind of like the message forward is it, there's no option outside of you being your truth self. Um, and so the outcome that you're fighting, that you're trying to unlock the the other version of you, um, no, can no longer exist in the frequency that you're allowed to function in. And so it's almost like there's the resistance is futile, but in the most beautiful way, because you're only resisting your own truth, and you're only resisting your own self, and you're only fighting yourself. And then the question is why? Why fight your own being? Why fight your own self? Why present forth the energy that you know is untruth? Why present forth the actions that are are untruth? Why present no actions that you know will only deny your truth? And so, stop pretending. Stop being something else. Stop denying. And it is time to, I guess, face the music and come out and speak your truth. Speak your own internal words. Not speak against something, not speak against someone, not to create tension or turmoil, but simply go within and find that internal voice of you, the voice that is you, and start living that life. Start living your true life.